everyone, welcome back. We're going to do a deep dive today on some recent activity from the Employees Provident Fund Organization in India, the EPFO. You had some questions about some changes happening over there. You sent over a couple articles, one about what happened at the latest EPFO meeting, and another about potentially raising the EPF wage ceiling.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff.
It is, and you're right to be interested because this could have some big ripple effects across India.
Well, it's pretty fascinating to see just how much EPFO has grown, the number of organizations contributing is up by 6.6% since last year.
Wow.
And then the number of members contributing is up by 7.6%. So that tells you right there, more people are working, and the organization is really expanding its reach.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just a small group we're talking about. We're talking over 766,000 organizations and 73.7 million members who are part of this. And here's something I know you're going to appreciate. They were able to recover a massive amount of what they call arrear dues, basically money that employers owed to employees, but hadn't actually paid.
Yeah, I saw that.
So it's a huge win for worker rights. And we're talking over 5,268 crore rupees, which is a 55.4% increase from last year.
That's a lot of rupees. And it points to, I think, a positive trend in India, more people getting formal employment. And EPFO is really stepping up to make sure that workers are getting what they deserve. And on top of that, the number of claims that they settled went up by 7.8%, which means they're getting better at processing everything and just making life easier for members.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so let's talk about this recent EPFO meeting. It wasn't all just about numbers. They discussed some pretty important stuff, for example. They're working on improving their IT systems, which, I think we can all appreciate a good tech upgrade.
Oh, for sure.
But here's something especially interesting. They're setting up a new compassionate appointment policy for dependents of employees who passed away.
Oh, wow. That's a really big deal, especially, considering everything that's happened with the pandemic. It recognizes that employers have a social responsibility to help families who have lost, their primary source of income. It can be a real lifeline for people struggling to get by.
Definitely. And on top of that, they're taking steps to make pension payments more centralized, which should hopefully make the whole process a lot simpler for everyone. Now, remember that article you sent about the EPF wage ceiling? This is where things get really interesting. The government is seriously considering raising the ceiling to 21,000 rupees. I know you're thinking, that's a big jump from 15,000.
Yeah.
You'd be right. This would be the first time it's been raised since 2014.
Yeah, that is a big jump. It's all about expanding the social safety net in India so that more people have financial security, especially when it comes to retirement.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And you were curious about this change, so let's unpack what it could mean for you. It definitely seems like EPFO is working to be more inclusive and proactive. Remember, all that growth we talked about. Yeah. This is just one more way to bring even more people under the EPFO umbrella. And there's another potential change on the table, too. Lowering the headcount threshold for EPF registration.
Okay.
This could have a huge impact, especially for smaller companies and the people who work for them.
Yeah, that's crucial for those smaller companies. They often have a hard time offering the same benefits as larger companies, so this could really level the playing field and offer employees in those companies much greater financial security.
For sure. Now, this wage ceiling hike, if it happens, could also affect the employee's pension scheme or EPS. Right now, if your basic salary is over 15,000 rupees, you're not eligible for EPS. But if the ceiling is raised, people making between 15,000 and 21,000 rupees would be able to enroll. On the surface, it sounds great, right? More people getting access to a pension.
Yeah, more people getting a pension is a good thing. However, there is a nuance to consider. When an employee joins EPS, a portion of what their employer contributes, 8.33% to be exact, shifts from their EPF to their EPS. It's like this. Imagine your employer contributes 1,000 rupees. Currently, all of it goes to your EPF. But with the new ceiling, 83.3 rupees would go to EPS, and the remaining 916.7 rupees would go to your EPF, so you get pension benefits. But your EPF balance might not grow as quickly.
Interesting. So it's a bit of a trade-off. More security when you retire because of the pension, but maybe a little less money in your EPF account when you retire. It also means that contributions to EPS will go up. Right now, there's a cap of 1,250 rupees because it's calculated using that 15,000 rupee limit. So the government really is trying to strike a balance here.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. They're trying to offer more people access to Social Security, which is a huge positive, but they also have to consider what it means for contributions to both EPF and EPS. It's complex for sure. There are definitely benefits and challenges to think about.
Really makes you think, what would you do? Would you rather have a bigger lump sum in your EPF account
Mm.
or that steady income from a pension?
Right.
It's definitely a question a lot of people are going to be asking themselves. If this change goes through, it also makes you think about the bigger picture. You know,
Hmm.
like what will happen to the Indian economy if these changes go through? Will it help the economy grow? Or will there be some unexpected consequences?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it?
It's pretty fascinating to think about.
It is. And one of the most interesting things I think is how people's savings behavior might change. If they feel more confident that they'll have a pension when they retire, they might be more likely to spend their money now, which could actually help boost the economy in the short term.
Interesting.
And it could also encourage more people to move from informal work to formal employment because of the added benefits. I'm really curious to see how this plays out.
I'm with you on that. It'll be interesting to see how things unfold. And like we were talking about before, there's that potential impact on EPF balances to consider. I can definitely see why some people would be hesitant about a change.
Yeah.
That could mean a smaller lump sum when they retire, even with the pension. You know, when I first started my career, I admit I didn't pay much attention to this kind of stuff. I just assumed whatever my employer contributed was going to my EPF. It really is something everyone should make an effort to understand. Oh, absolutely. The reality is there's no one-size-fits-all answer here. Everyone has their own financial goals. And what works for one person might not work for another. Some people will feel good knowing they have that guaranteed pension income, while others might prefer to have a larger EPF balance to manage on their own. This is where good financial planning comes in.
Oh, for sure. And let's not forget about the employers in all of this, especially the smaller businesses. We talked about how expanded coverage could be a good thing for their employees. But there's also that flip side, the possibility that those increased contributions could put a real strain on their finances. Yeah, it's a bit of a tightrope walk for the government, wouldn't you say? They're juggling a lot of different factors here. On one hand, they want to offer more people the security of Social Security. But on the other hand, they have to think about the potential burden on businesses, especially smaller ones. I think the key will be for them to find ways to mitigate any negative consequences, and maybe even offer some incentives to help businesses adapt.
Absolutely. This is why staying informed about this stuff is so important. These changes could have a huge impact on your financial future. And you need to understand what it could mean for you personally. It's not just about sitting back and waiting to see what happens. It's about taking charge of your finances and making sure they're aligned with your goals.
I couldn't agree more. It's about taking the time to do your research, think about the different possibilities, and figure out what makes the most sense for you and your specific situation.
Yeah. It really is amazing to see how EPFO is evolving. They're not just managing funds. They're trying to stay ahead of the curve and meet the needs of a changing workforce. And ultimately, their goal is to help build a more secure future for millions of people in India. This whole discussion reminds me of a conversation I had with a friend who's really into personal finance. He was telling me about how these changes to EPFO could really change how people think about saving and investing. It's not just about putting money in your EPF anymore. You have to factor in the EPS, consider your risk tolerance, and really make a plan.
Yeah,
It's actually pretty exciting. It's like a whole new world of possibilities opening up.
that's a great point. This is a really dynamic situation, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out in the long run. One thing that's clear, though, is that EPFO is becoming more than just a retirement fund. It's becoming a major force in shaping the social and economic landscape of India. The decisions they make and the policies they implement have ripple effects that touch everyone, from individual workers to large corporations and even the government itself.
This deep dive really has given us a lot to think about. We've covered so much. The incredible growth of EPFO, their focus on making things better for members, and those bold proposals that could change the face of Social Security in India. I have to say I'm impressed by how proactive EPFO has been, especially with things like recovering those arrear dues and implementing that compassionate appointment policy. It shows a real commitment to protecting workers and ensuring their well-being.
I completely agree. What stands out to me is the potential impact these changes could have on the lives of millions of people. We're talking about financial stability, peace of mind, and a more secure future. And for a country like India, that's a game changer. It's something we should all be paying attention to and engaging with. Don't just sit on the sidelines. Read about it, talk about it, and let your voice be heard.
You're so right. These are decisions that affect us all, so we should be part of the conversation. Who knows? Maybe our insights and perspectives could even help shape the future of EPFO and Social Security in India.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into EPFO. We've covered a lot of ground today, and I hope you found this exploration as insightful and thought-provoking as I have.
It's been a pleasure diving into this with you. Remember, knowledge is power. The more we understand about these complex issues, the better equipped we are to navigate them and create a more secure and prosperous future for ourselves and generations to come.
You've been listening to The Deep Dive, and we've been exploring all the exciting developments with EPFO in India. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep striving for a better tomorrow.